It was through my own betrayal that I discovered my wife had been betraying me for 2 years. You won't believe how I found out about my wife's 2-year betrayal. I'll start from the beginning. I'll start this off by saying I know I'm no saint. I did something I regret. I'm not here to paint myself as a victim, but what happened next completely flipped my world upside down. I guess I just need to tell someone before I go insane. So yeah, I cheated. It was a one-time thing. Stupid, selfish, spur of the moment. I met this woman, Lena, at a conference 2 months ago. I work in tech, she works in logistics. We got to talking at the hotel bar after a seminar. One thing led to another, and I ended up in her room. It wasn't premeditated. No texting before, no flirting beforehand. Just 2 people who probably drank more than they should have and didn't stop themselves when they should have. Here's where I really screwed up though. Lena was married. She didn't mention it until afterward, and I didn't think much of it at the time. Just felt gross, guilty, and ashamed. I didn't tell my wife, Erin. I didn't want to blow up our marriage over one mistake. Not saying that's the right thing to do, but at the time I thought burying it was protecting her. God, that sounds awful to say now. My marriage to Erin, it wasn't always like this. We met in college. She was this fiery, sarcastic girl with eyes that could slice right through you. I fell hard. We got married in our late 20s. The first few years were good. We had our little routines. Lazy Sundays, inside jokes, fights over stupid stuff like laundry or who forgot to replace the toothpaste. Normal couple stuff. But in the last year and a half, something changed. She got colder, shorter with me, more protective of her phone, more vague about her schedule. I chalked it up to work stress. She started working out a lot, changed her hair, started wearing perfume too, casual errands. I know how cliché this sounds, but I didn't want to believe she was cheating. I just figured maybe we were in a rut and I was overthinking things. But then came the twist of the century. About 2 weeks after I slept with Lena, I got an email from her husband. Let's call him Mike. It was polite, almost scarily polite. He said he knew what had happened, that he wasn't mad at me, that he just wanted to talk. He left his number at the bottom. I felt like I was going to puke. At first I thought he was going to threaten me or try to fight me or something, but curiosity got the best of me. I called him. What he told me shook me to my core. Turns out Mike had suspected his wife was cheating for a while too. He'd installed some kind of tracking software on her phone. Again, messed up, but understandable considering the situation. He saw my number come up, traced it back to me. But here's where it gets absolutely surreal. Mike said he recognized me, not because of Lena, but because my wife Erin was in his phone history. Texts, photos, calendar invites, even flight bookings. My heart dropped. Apparently, Erin and Mike had met 2 years ago at some kind of work networking event. They hit it off, started seeing each other, and kept seeing each other. Not just texts or FaceTimes. In person, while I was at home thinking she was working late, or grabbing drinks with coworkers, she was with him. He showed me screenshots, dates, photos of them at a cabin together. Her in a hoodie I bought her for our anniversary, sitting on his couch. That was when I knew it was real. No one else would have that hoodie. The rage I felt. It was like something primal, not even because she cheated, because she lied to my face every day for years, because she made me feel crazy when I asked questions, because I was out here wallowing in guilt for one night of infidelity, and she'd been building a whole second life. Mike said he was done with Lena, that he just wanted to tell me because he thought I deserved to know. He wasn't looking for revenge, just closure. I thanked him. I still don't know why. Maybe because he gave me the one thing my wife never did. The truth. I sat with that knowledge for 3 days, didn't sleep, didn't eat, just kept replaying every weird moment, every fight that suddenly made sense. I felt like I was going insane. Then I decided I had to confront her, and that was a whole new level of madness. So yeah, after 3 days of mentally spiraling, I confronted her. It was a Tuesday night. I waited until she got home from yoga, which I now know was code for whatever the hell she was actually doing. She walked in, tossed her keys in the dish like everything was normal. I was sitting at the kitchen table, lights dimmed, drink in hand. Not for drama. It's just how long I'd been sitting there waiting. She gave me that tired, half smile she does when she's not in the mood for small talk. I didn't waste time. I asked, "How long have you been sleeping with Mike?" Her face dropped, like immediately. No confusion, no. "Who's Mike?" Just this flicker of panic that said everything. Then she had the audacity to say, "What are you talking about?" I laughed. Actually laughed. I don't know what came over me, but I think it was the absurdity of it. Of how she really thought she could lie again. after 2 years of deception. I told her I spoke to him. I told her I saw the photos, the cabin trip, the matching hoodies, the flights. I told her I knew about the New Year's in Montreal when she told me she was going on a solo wellness retreat. Yeah, that lie still stings. That's when the meltdown began. First, denial. She said Mike was obsessed with her, that he was manipulating everything, that he must have faked the photos. Then came the gaslighting. Are you seriously going to believe a stranger over your own wife? I told her I would have believed her. I did. For 2 years, I believed every excuse. But not anymore. That's when she pivoted to anger, screaming, crying, throwing accusations back at me. How dare you go behind my back? Like I hadn't just found out she's been doing the damn cha-cha with someone else for 2 years. Then, this part still blows my mind. She tried to flip it on me. I always knew something was off with you. You were probably cheating too. I just stared at her. And here's the messed up part. In that moment, I felt this strange wave of guilt. Because she wasn't wrong. I had cheated. Once. Stupidly. But that wasn't the point. And I told her that. One night of weakness doesn't cancel out 2 years of betrayal, I said. That hit her. I think she realized she couldn't twist it anymore. So she collapsed into tears and started mumbling things like, I didn't mean for it to happen. We just connected. It started as a friendship. Blah blah blah. I asked her if she loved him. She said nothing. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I asked how many times they'd been together. She said, I don't know. I asked if she'd ever planned to stop. She didn't answer that either. That night, man, it felt like watching a house you built with your own hands burn to the ground in slow motion. She slept in the guest room. Or at least pretended to. I didn't sleep at all. Just laid there staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of everything. I thought about our wedding, our first apartment, the way she used to kiss my shoulder when she thought I was asleep. I thought about the time I held her when she cried after her dad died. The time I took a week off work just to paint our living room the exact shade of blue she wanted. And now here we were, 2 strangers in the same house, each of us hiding different versions of betrayal under our skin. The next day, I called in sick and just walked. For hours. I walked through the park, past the bakery where we used to get bagels on Sundays, past the bar where she said she was meeting coworkers last month, which now I knew was a lie. I didn't know what to do. Divorce? Separation? Scream into the void? But I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. And that's what led me here, to this post, to this bizarre, terrible, humiliating story that somehow feels like it isn't even mine. But it is, and I'm not done yet, because the fallout from this, it's only just beginning. The next day, everything started to fall apart. Not loudly, not all at once, but like ice that cracks slowly, at first almost imperceptibly, then with a crash all the way to the bone. I didn't talk to her all day. She didn't say anything either. We were like 2 mimes in the same house, tiptoeing, avoiding glances, doors slamming softer than usual. She made coffee in the morning, as if everything was the same, but she didn't put my cup down. A small thing. But after all, it was like a tiny punch in the gut. Around 5 in the evening, she came out of the bedroom and said, We need to talk. I nodded. I sat back down at the kitchen table, where it all started. The same pose, the same walls. Only I wasn't the same anymore. Listen, she began, looking at the floor. I didn't mean for it to go this far. 2 years, I interrupted. 2 years, she shuddered. I thought things were bad between us. You became different, distant, cold. Oh, classic. They always say that, don't they? I asked. And that justifies constantly meeting another man behind my back? Lying every day? She rolled her eyes. Yes, she rolled her eyes. I just felt alive with him. You know, you don't look at me the same way you used to. I don't even know what to say to that, because she killed that closeness herself, replaced it with secrets, flying away, on business trips, and fake kisses. And then, out of the blue, she says, I was going to stop it. Really, I just didn't know how. I couldn't help myself. I laughed in her face, bitterly. Is it just a coincidence that you wanted to stop at the very moment when I already found out? She looked down. I'm not a bad person, she muttered. Yeah, just got the wrong address. 2 years in a row. I told her I knew about the sex, the trips, the gifts, the dinners, everything. And the 2 times I called and she didn't pick up because she was in the shower, when she was actually in the hotel room with him. I saw the receipts. I saw the reservation. And then she sat down across from me and blurted out, But you cheated too. I froze. There it was. She pulled her dirty card out of her pocket and threw it on the table. I asked, How do you know? She narrowed her eyes. Your face has changed. You couldn't look me in the eye after that conference. I felt it. Then why do you keep pretending that you're the victim? She sighed. Because I was the first. And I didn't do it for sex. I fell in love with him. That's when I wanted to smash everything in the room. Because sex is a mistake, passion a moment, but falling in love? It means planning, building, comparing. It means choosing. And she chose him. Over and over. While I was trying to figure out every night why she didn't kiss me goodbye like she used to. You know what finished me off? She said. I just didn't think you'd ever know. I didn't want to hurt you. That's it. That's honesty. I would have kept lying to you forever if I hadn't gotten caught. We didn't come to any decisions that night. We just sat, for a long time. Then she went to take a shower. I stayed in the kitchen, listening to the water running, wondering, what am I supposed to do with this life now? I knew our love was dead. All that remains is to decide whether we will pretend that this is not so, or bury her honestly. She went away for the weekend to her friends, to think about it, or to him. I didn't ask, and honestly, I didn't care. The apartment breathed easier without her. The walls didn't press in. For the first time in a long time, I could just sit in silence and not expect a catch. I started rummaging through the drawers, not on purpose, just, I wanted to understand who she was now. I found a box under the bed. Letters, ticket printouts, postcards with short, intimate inscriptions. The handwriting wasn't mine. Dates all the time we were together. One of them was signed, "Can't wait for next Tuesday. Yours E. Tuesday. Yoga of course." Then I came across a photo. The two of them in the mountains. She's wearing the hat I gave her for Christmas. He's hugging her waist. She's laughing. It wasn't a photo from a phone. It was printed out, put into an album. Officially. Planned. I was shaking. Not from anger, not from pain, but from the realization of how deep it was. It was not an accident. There was no mistake in it. This was the second real relationship that she carefully hid under the face of a tired wife. The next day, I called the hotel where she stayed a couple of months ago during a business trip. The administrator confirmed, a double room, 2 people, 1 payment. He did not say the second name, but there was no need. I began to collect her things, not hysterically, not enraged, methodically. Everything that she left in our bedroom, I put in boxes. Underwear that I had never seen, perfume that she never wore near me. Everything seemed alien. She seemed alien. 2 days later she returned. The key turned in the lock, the door creaked. She walked in and froze, seeing the boxes. The bag hung in her hand, her face nothing, empty. No tears, no hysteria, just silence. She walked past and sat down on the couch. I said nothing. I just put a piece of paper in front of her. There were 2 options, a divorce by mutual consent quickly, cleanly, without a trial, or I lay out everything I know, including the personal correspondence with her lover that Mike sent me. She looked at the paper, then at me. For the first time, I saw how control disappeared in her eyes. She realized that it was over, not because of cheating, but because I was no longer the one who would tolerate it. She said quietly, I didn't think you were like this, and I am like this, because after everything she did, I finally stopped trying to be convenient for her. She packed her things in a couple of hours. No scenes, no goodbyes. Left in a taxi without looking back. I was left alone, on the couch, with a box of old letters, 2 mugs of tea on the table, and an emptiness that neither excuses nor memories could fill. That night, for the first time in a long time, I slept peacefully. The next morning felt strange. Not freeing, exactly, just still, like when a storm finally passes and you're not sure whether to cry or clean up the mess. I walked around the apartment like a guest in my own home. Everything still smelled like her. Vanilla perfume and something floral I could never identify. Her toothbrush was gone. Her coat too. Even the mug she always used for coffee. She must have taken it all in one go. Efficient, like she always was when things suited her. The silence was deafening. I didn't go into work. I couldn't fake a spreadsheet or a meeting. Instead, I opened my laptop and started digging through photos. Not out of nostalgia. More like autopsy work, trying to trace the decay. And God, it was everywhere. Her smile had changed over time. Softer in the early years, more forced later. There was this one photo from our anniversary last year. She was looking away from the camera, barely touching my arm, eyes distant. At the time, I told myself she was just tired. Turns out, she'd spent the morning with him. I kept scrolling until I found a picture from 3 years ago. She was sitting on my lap at a party, arm around my neck, drink in hand, laughing. I stared at that photo for what felt like hours. It looked like 2 people in love. I don't know if it was real anymore, if any of it was. Later that afternoon, I got a message from Mike. the husband of the woman I'd slept with. He asked how things were going. I told him it was over, that she left, that I wasn't sure if I was relieved or just hollow. His reply was short. Same. Apparently Lena moved out too, took her dog, her yoga mat, and left a note. No tears, no last words, just a trail of perfume and silence. There was something twistedly poetic about it, like the women we cheated with were always going to disappear in the same quiet way they entered. But here's the kicker. Mike told me something else. Remember how I said at the beginning that the first cheating was just the beginning? Well, he said this wasn't Aaron's first affair. That after he started digging, he found messages on Lena's phone referencing the one before. That Aaron had a pattern. She got bored. She sought out excitement. She lied. I wanted to scream, throw something, but I didn't. I just sat there and stared out the window. Everything in my life up to that moment had been built on sand, and the tide had finally come in. That night, I started boxing up the apartment. Not hers, mine. I couldn't stay there. Every corner had a ghost in it. The living room where she pretended to nap after long days. The bathroom counter where her lipstick used to sit. The bedroom where I kissed her shoulder each night, completely unaware she'd been touched by someone else just days before. I moved into a short-term rental 2 days later. No pictures on the wall, no plants, no memories. Just a mattress, a desk, and my laptop. Honestly, it felt like a fitting way to reset. I didn't cry, not once. Maybe I will later, maybe I won't. But the grief was there, quiet and sharp, sitting just beneath my skin like a splinter I couldn't dig out. People say when you cheat, you destroy trust. But no one tells you what happens when you realize you were never trusted in the first place. That you were being lied to long before your own betrayal. That you were loving someone who had already walked away. They just forgot to close the door behind them. And now here I am, a man who made a mistake, and had his entire life burned down in return. I didn't talk to anyone for about a week. No texts, no calls. I ignored my mom's. Just checking in. Voicemail. My sister's. Are you alive? Meme. Even Mike messaged again. Said something about therapy being helpful if I was open to it. I wasn't. Not then. Not yet. I went to work. I answered emails. I made coffee. I lived like I was playing a character in someone else's life. I had exactly one real moment that week, when I was shaving and caught my reflection and said out loud, "Damn, man, you really let it all fall apart." And then I laughed. Like a full, hysterical, unhinged laugh. Because what else do you do when your wife of 6 years has been cheating on you for 2 of them, and the only reason you found out is because you cheated once and got caught in some karmic ricochet? I finally broke the silence by texting my best friend, Aaron. Just said, "You got time to grab a drink?" He responded in seconds. "You buying?" Then yeah. We met at this bar we used to frequent in our early 20s. Cheap drinks, terrible music, no judgment. He walked in, took one look at me, and said, "Jesus, you look like someone microwaved you." I told him everything, from the hotel bar hookup to Mike's phone call to Aaron's suitcase disappearing like she was in a spy movie. He didn't interrupt, didn't even sip his beer, just listened. When I finished, he exhaled through his nose and said, "That's a lot of messed up energy in one marriage, man." No kidding. He asked if I still loved her. I didn't know how to answer that. Love doesn't just switch off. It rots. It curdles. And I was still smelling the decay. I asked him the question that had been haunting me. "Am I the bad guy?" He shrugged. "You're not the good guy. But you're not the villain either. You both broke it. Just in different ways." And that stuck with me. Because yeah, I cheated. I won't pretend that wasn't messed up. But what cuts deep is that I did it in a moment of loneliness, confusion, maybe even resentment. She did it with planning, with consistency, with a toothbrush at another man's apartment, and scheduled weekends away. There's a difference between setting fire to something out of pain, and slowly poisoning it over years. 2 days later, I got a call from Aaron's mom. Didn't even think about what number was calling me, just answered on instinct. "Hi, sweetie. I heard about what happened." I almost hung up. She said Aaron told her I'd found out about some stuff, and that things got complicated. That's all she gave them, not the truth. Not that she'd been carrying out a secret relationship with a married man for 2 damn years. "She's a mess," her mom said. "I don't think she knows what she wants." I told her gently that I didn't either. Except I knew I didn't want this. I wasn't angry on the call. I wasn't cruel. But I didn't offer hope either. I was done being the man who cleaned up after Aaron's storms. Later that night, Erin texted me, just one line. Can we talk? It sat on my screen like a landmine. I didn't reply right away. I stared at it for hours. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard a dozen times. Eventually I said, sure, tomorrow, 7 p.m. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe closure. Maybe one last lie. Maybe some part of me wanted her to beg. But what I got instead was a whole new level of twisted I never saw coming. She showed up exactly at 6:58 p.m. Of course she did. Erin was never late to anything that benefited her. She looked polished, not like someone unraveling after getting caught in a years-long affair. She had makeup on, her hair was done, and she wore the navy coat I bought her last Christmas, the one she said she didn't really like. Funny how Betrayal looks good in navy. I didn't invite her in right away, just stood there in the doorway like a bouncer deciding if she made the list. Eventually, I stepped aside, and she walked in like she still had a key. Like this was just some minor disagreement we needed to talk through. She didn't sit, just stood in the middle of the room, looking around like she was trying to see what had changed. Maybe she was searching for traces of herself. Maybe she was realizing how easy it was to erase someone when they'd already started disappearing long ago. So, she said, I've been thinking. Here we go. I want to be honest with you, she continued. Mike, he wasn't the only one. My stomach dropped. There it was, the other shoe, the final nail, the part of the story she didn't get to confess the first time because she was too busy playing victim. I didn't even speak, just stared, and she took that as a green light to keep going. There were 2 others, before him, not serious, just moments. She winced at her own word choice. I'm not proud of it. Moments, she really said that. Like cheating was just a series of small, impulsive glances that happened to land in someone else's bed. I asked her, flat out, why are you telling me this now? She paused, then said, because I want to try again. I laughed. Hard, maybe too hard. It echoed in the walls of the nearly empty apartment. You're joking, I said. I'm not, she said, eyes glassy now. I know I messed up. I know it's a lot, but I still believe in us. Us. That word felt like sandpaper against my teeth. She sat down on the edge of the couch, like she used to when she wanted to bring something up she knew I wouldn't like asking to spend Christmas with her sister's family instead of mine, or telling me we were spending too much time together when I wanted to plan a weekend trip. I've started therapy, she said. I'm working through some stuff. I realized I've had commitment issues for a long time, probably since college, maybe before that. I said nothing. Then she added, and I forgive you too, for what you did. That part, that forgive you part. That's when I realized she wasn't here to apologize. She was here to negotiate, to try and reset the scoreboard. Like her years of lying could be evened out by my one drunken mistake. You want to start over? I asked. She nodded. I think we could rebuild. We've been through so much. And then she pulled it out, her trump card. I still want to have a family with you. That was the moment everything in me shut off. Because once upon a time, I did want that. A home, a kid or two, a dog, lazy Saturday mornings with cartoons in the background and coffee on the counter. I pictured that life with her. I wanted it with her. But now I could barely imagine touching her hand without thinking of the dozens of ways she'd broken me. So I looked her in the eyes and said, no. She blinked. No, I repeated. There is no rebuilding this. There's no marriage left. You didn't just make a mistake, Erin. You made a choice. Over and over again. And I don't trust you. I don't even like you right now. Silence. Then her face hardened. The tears vanished as fast as they came. You'll regret this, she said, throwing away everything we had over one rough patch. One rough patch. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. She stared at me like she couldn't believe I meant it. But I did. And this time, she walked out without saying another word. Just like that. It was over. Or so I thought. I wish I could say that was the end of it. That she walked out that night, the door clicked shut behind her, and I finally got peace. But if you've made it this far, you probably already know that's not how these stories go. 2 days later, she showed up at my job. Not a call, not a text. She physically walked into my office lobby like we were still playing house, and she just forgot to grab her keys. My coworker buzzed me from reception and said, there's a woman here, says she's your wife? My blood turned to ice. She looked different, more desperate this time. Her eyes darted around like she knew she wasn't supposed to be there but couldn't stop herself. I met her in the lobby, already exhausted. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I didn't know how else to reach you." "You've been ignoring me." "Yes, because I meant it when I said it was over." She pulled out a manila envelope from her purse and handed it to me like she was delivering something sacred. Inside were printed out pages, bank statements, email threads, some receipts. At first I thought she was trying to pin some financial chaos on me, but then I saw the name, Mike. "You should know who he really is," she said. I didn't respond. I just stared at her. She stood there, wringing her hands like a nervous teenager. "He told you what you wanted to hear," she continued, "but he wasn't honest either." I wanted to laugh. This woman, this serial liar, was now trying to warn me about someone else's integrity. I opened the folder later, at home, half out of curiosity, half out of spite. And you know what? She wasn't totally wrong. Mike had been seeing someone else the entire time he was with Lena and Aaron, some woman in another state. Apparently they had an open arrangement, but he didn't disclose that to Lena or Aaron. Aaron's angle was obvious. She thought that if she could make him look bad, she could make herself look better. Like maybe the guy she cheated with being shady would somehow absolve her of everything. It didn't. If anything, it just made her look worse. Like she wasn't just a cheater, but a cheater with horrible judgment. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Later that week, I got a message from an unknown number. "You don't know me, but I thought you deserved the truth. I'm the woman Mike was seeing. Your wife and mine were a mess. I'm sorry for everything they dragged you into." Attached to the message was a voice recording. I knew I shouldn't open it. I knew, but I did. It was Aaron, laughing, talking, saying things like, "He has no idea. I could come home with hickeys and he'd believe I'd burned myself with a curling iron." I sat there listening to her voice like I was eavesdropping on a stranger, like I was hearing someone impersonate my wife. The woman Mike was seeing, her name was Tanya, also sent screenshots, group chats, old photos, messages between Aaron and Lena. Yeah, turns out they weren't just cheating with each other's husbands, they were friends. I don't know why that part hit me so hard. Maybe because it made it intentional. Like I wasn't just collateral damage. I was a punchline. This wasn't just infidelity. It was collaboration. It was a goddamn conspiracy. And all that time I'd been blaming myself, wondering if my one mistake made me just as bad. Turns out, I was the idiot at a table full of loaded dice. So I did what I should have done the day she walked out. I filed the divorce paperwork. No hesitation this time. No second guessing. Just the quiet click of a pen signing my name to the end of a chapter one never wanted to live through again. The next morning, I blocked her number. She showed up once more, tried to buzz into my apartment. I didn't answer. I watched from the window as she stood there, hands in pockets, shoulders curled forward like she wanted to collapse in on herself. And maybe she did, but that wasn't my problem anymore. That was the last time I saw her. You don't realize how loud a life is until it stops. The first few weeks after I cut her off completely were the quietest I'd ever known. No buzzing phone, no familiar footsteps in the hall, no passive-aggressive cabinets slamming, just the hum of my fridge, the occasional neighbor's dog, and the odd creak of my apartment shifting at night. I didn't know what healing would look like. I thought it would be dramatic, some big, cinematic moment where I'd look in the mirror and suddenly be okay. It wasn't like that. Healing came in weird, quiet, boring moments, like the first time I laughed at a TV show without feeling guilty, or when I finally threw out the throw pillows she loved but I hated, or when I realized I'd stopped checking her Instagram to see if she was posting anything cryptic or pathetic. I started going to therapy, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. The rage was eating me from the inside out. I kept replaying all of it, the lies, the gaslighting, the hotel receipts, the "can we talk?" texts like nothing ever happened. I hated her. I hated myself. I even hated Mike for a while, even though I barely knew the guy. My therapist was a calm, older woman who wore scarves like armor and had the kind of voice that makes you want to confess things you didn't even know you were holding. She asked me one day, "Do you think you cheated out of revenge?" "No," I told her honestly. I didn't know about her affair yet. She nodded, then tilted her head. "So why did you cheat?" I sat with that for a long time, because the truth was, I was lonely, not physically, but emotionally. I was married to a woman who smiled with her mouth and lied with her eyes. I kept trying to meet her halfway, but I didn't realize she'd left the map behind a long time ago. I don't say that to justify what I did, but it gave me context, and it helped me forgive myself, just a little. I started reconnecting with friends I distanced myself from during my marriage. Turns out, A lot of people had noticed things I hadn't, or maybe didn't want to. One night, Aaron, my best friend, said something that stuck with me. "Man, we all thought you were in love, but now that I think about it, you just looked exhausted all the time." He wasn't wrong. I was in love with a version of her that stopped existing long before I realized it. I started making small changes, cooked meals for myself again, went back to the gym, took up running, which I used to love but had given up when Erin said she hated the sound of sneakers on pavement. I even deleted all our old photos from my phone, not out of spite, but because I didn't want to keep revisiting a movie where I was the only one who didn't know the ending. One day, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. Then I got a text. "I heard you filed. I hope you're doing okay." It was from Lena. I didn't reply. She'd been a mistake, a trigger point, and I had no intention of repeating the cycle. Instead, I booked a trip. Just me, a cabin, and a week off the grid. I needed to remember who I was before all of this. Before Erin, before the lies, before the twisted knot of guilt and betrayal and pain. And somewhere between the hiking trails and the cold morning coffee on the porch, I started to feel like I could breathe again. Like maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind me. It's been 6 months now. I live in a different apartment, on the other side of town. No ghosts here. No memories pressed into the carpet fibers. Just quiet mornings, clean counters, and the soft kind of peace that doesn't announce itself. It just is. The divorce was finalized last month. I didn't go to the hearing. My lawyer handled it. Erin didn't fight. We split the assets down the middle. She even kept the couch I hated, the one she picked out after we compromised, by letting her choose everything. Fitting, honestly. I kept the dog. She wasn't ours, she was mine, and she's been the only living thing that never lied to me through all of this. Sometimes people ask me if I miss her. It's a weird question. I don't miss her. Not who she turned out to be, but I miss who I thought she was. I miss the version of our marriage I believed in, that imaginary life we built on half-truths and well-polished performances. But that's grief. You don't just mourn people, you mourn futures, alternate realities, the life you thought you were living. I still go to therapy, not because I'm broken, because I want to stay unbroken. I've learned how to sit with anger without letting it eat me alive. I've learned how to hold guilt in one hand and self-forgiveness in the other. I've learned that love without honesty is just performance art. And here's the kicker. I've started dating again. Nothing serious. Just a few dinners, some coffee shop conversations. One of them, her name's Rachel, is kind, warm, and asks questions that make me think about things other than betrayal. I don't know if it's going anywhere, but I smile when she texts, and I don't flinch when I see her phone light up on the table. That's something. So what have I learned? If something feels off for a long time, it probably is. Trust your gut. You're not crazy. Cheating doesn't come from nowhere, but it's still a choice. One that leaves ash behind, even if you only set one match. Secrets are never really secret. They live in your house, eat at your table, and sleep between you at night. Forgiveness isn't the same as reunion. You can forgive someone and still leave them behind. And most of all, you deserve a love that doesn't make you question your sanity. If you're reading this and stuck in something that feels twisted, heavy, or wrong, get out, or at least get honest. Because nothing hurts more than realizing you were holding on to a rope someone else already let go of. I lost a marriage, a sense of identity, and a whole chunk of my heart in this process. But I found something else. Myself. And I like this version of me better. He's scarred, sure, but he's awake now. So yeah, I, 34M, cheated on my wife, 32F, with someone else's wife. And through that, I found out she'd been cheating on me for 2 years. And in some twisted, painful, backwards way, I think that saved my life.